Hello everyone, my name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of UHS Vlogs. So, as we are still keeping that title, let's get on with it immediately. So, first of all, I need to bring up a few things that happened last time that I didn't really have time to mention because I didn't want to go over 20 minutes, even though I technically can, but no one wants to watch a 20-minute video about me talking for 20 minutes. Anyways, so let's begin. So the first thing that happened on the Friday of last week was actually today's Sunday. Yeah, last week I had a math test. Now a math test is a unit test. This is a unit test. So it was a whole test. I did pretty well. I think I did pretty well, although in the middle of the test my brain kind of stopped working, and that kind of concerned me a bit. But I think I did pretty well. Something that happened last week and this week was that we got 2 artist visits. So what is an artist visit? Well, what happened was basically, this happened twice. Once on, I think Friday, once on Tuesday, because Monday was a PA day from what I remember. So what happened basically was an artist came in, or in this case, yes, an artist came in. They basically told us about a bit of stuff. Usually had about, it was a whole period worth of information, I guess. I don't know how to say it better than that. So basically, an artist came into the school. They talked to us about stuff, how they did stuff, blah 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 blah, other artist stuff. So the first artist was his name. I can't remember his name. He worked with wood sculptures and stuff. You can search this guy up if you want, and it's pretty cool. It was cool to meet him. He talked about some stuff and stories and stuff. It's pretty interesting. He brought in 3 of his wood sculptures, which were massive and pretty nice, and it was pretty cool. So on Tuesday, the second person who came in was a woman. So she was a character design artist. Yeah, that's what she said. She was a character design artist. Not sure if she worked for any company or not, but she was a character design artist, and she used a lot of Photoshop. And basically, what we did for the entire 2 periods was we got Wacom tablets or computer tablets, writing tablets. I don't have mine right now. We got those writing tablets, and basically we just experimented with Photoshop and its functions for the entire 2 periods, and it was okay. It was pretty good, I guess. I still do not like Photoshop as much as I like my usual editing tool, but maybe it has some ups and downs. Maybe I haven't discovered them yet, and maybe it's just my opinion. Something else that happened last week was I mentioned Fitness Friday. I didn't mention the test, so let's start this off with the controversial topic. Asians. That is kind of vague. Let me specify. East Asians, Chinese, or around that sort of region. Chinese, Korean, Japanese, East Asians. So why am I talking about East Asians? Unionville has Unionville has a lot of East Asians, and I will continue referring to that in that way. A lot of people in Unionville are Asian and do speak Chinese, usually in the form of Mandarin or Cantonese. There are a lot of Asians in Unionville. There's a lot of people who are from East Asia, so I can assume people who look East Asian, and there's just quite a lot of them. Anytime you're walking through the halls, you're going to hear someone speaking in Mandarin or Cantonese or something. A lot of the people I know, almost 50% of the classes, of all the classes that I've been to, are full of Asians. And of course, I have no problem with that. I don't mind it at all. And well, it's compared to my last school, my elementary school. Technically, around 80% of the class was also Asian in my class. Anyways, I am not used to this being a slightly larger Caucasian community in high school, which I kind of was expecting, kind of didn't expect. Anyways, back to the topic of Asians. So there are a lot of them. I guess I should point that out. There are quite a lot of them. I think a reason for that is because UHS. So I think my parents told me UHS has a kind of what do you call it? Not an internship. I think UHS has this foreign exchange program, something maybe like that. I'm not sure. I think as something around at one point Unionville is, well, some years Unionville it allows foreign students to come in, so I think that's where the majority of the Asians are coming from, because UHS again is a pretty good school, really good school, also really good art school, and a lot of people from countries such as Asia or foreign countries do come to Unionville, especially if they're really wealthy. A lot of them are probably most likely really wealthy. You see them wearing like very expensive clothing, Gucci and I don't know, whatever clothing brand they wear. They wear a lot of expensive clothing. They put a lot of fashion and makeup, and you can tell they have to be wealthy because exchange or foreign exchange programs are not cheap from what I know. So yeah, that is something. That's something. Of course, as I mentioned before, I don't really mind. I don't really mind a high Asian majority. It's not really a big deal. It's not something I'm not used to. Sometimes kind of funny because they speak in Mandarin, and sometimes I don't speak Mandarin. I understand Mandarin. I don't speak a lot of it, but I understand pretty much all of it. So sometimes it's nice because they look at me. They look at me speaking English. They don't think I know what I'm talking. They don't think I know any Chinese, but in fact I do. So sometimes it's kind of funny to eavesdrop on their conversation, then translate in English because they don't know English. They don't know English. I don't know how to speak Chinese. Basically, I hear what they're saying. I know what they're saying. I can say it in English, and they don't know what I'm saying. And that's kind of cool, kind of iffy, I guess. But either way, it's not really a big deal. So you're probably sick of me talking about this. Mainstreams. We're gonna cover mainstreams. I'm not. We're gonna cover it again, and we're probably gonna cover it again and again and again and again. So mainstreams. I have noticed this happened on Tuesday. Yes, first week of school. I have noticed that there are certain special mainstream avoidance techniques. What do I mean by avoidance techniques? I mean different things that mainstreams or maybe people in general do that they do to avoid consequences and some for their own benefit. So let me just give a scenario, okay? So we're doing this project thingy in school. We're doing this poetry assignment. So basically, we had the teacher. Yes, teacher. This happened with the supply teacher as well. But a teacher, basically, the teacher, when she calls on a student, for example, let's say any random student, and you answer this question, what do you think about this? What's your opinion? They basically just say something along the lines of, oh yeah, I agree with this. Yeah, I totally agree with this. No, I disagree with this. I think it's this because directly points out to a section of the poem. Basically, I've noticed they kind of follow a bit of an algorithm. So what they do is that in class, during class, doing work or whatever, they usually fool around playing on their phones, playing Brawl Stars, I don't know, Brawl Stars, playing whatever, going on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit and stuff. They're browsing the internet, and basically maybe the teacher will be like, they'll call on them. And so what they do, this is what I've seen them do, what they do, they quickly look at the teacher, they start off with a sentence like, I agree, or like, I think this, or whatnot. And then they immediately look at the poem, which they haven't read, and pick out a random sentence that somewhat correlates. They literally scan the text and pick out the first sentence that correlates with what they're saying, totally oblivious of what everything else in the text means. So they start off with a basic response, then they support it with information they haven't found or they don't know what it means, and they basically kind of just, toss in a bunch of words, toss in a bunch of excuses, and somehow it makes a semi-decent answer that makes it appear that they're listening to at least part of the conversation. There is no formulation in their sentences, there's no formulation or thinking in their responses. It's a very bad strategy, although I have seen it work multiple times. It's a terrible strategy to use because no one should be doing something like this. No one should be trying to cheat or pull anything off. Now, what they're doing is different from the people who actually are struggling to get knowledge of the poem. Maybe people they don't really understand what's going on in the poem, and then these mainstreams over here, they're just fooling off and pulling it off like it's no big deal. And then we have people who like to flex on teachers, mainly supply teachers, and those people absolutely suck, but that's a topic for another video. Not only are mainstreams coming up with very simple and basic rhythmic excuses, rhythmic isn't the right word, but not only are they making up with really simple basic excuses and answers, they're also using it with basic responses, as I think I already mentioned. Basically, when the teacher's doing a conversation or whatever, maybe the teacher picks on someone and asks them what they think, that person will say honestly what they think, then the mainstream or whatever will go, yeah, I agree, or yeah, I agree. Basically, it's always I agree, to make it seem that they're listening to what they're saying and is actually thinking. Now, the teacher actually has no idea if they're actually thinking or not. If they say I agree, maybe the teacher's going to say, okay, prove I agree. Then they stick into their algorithm, which is look at the poem once, pick a sentence, and say that word for word, and say I agree. Very rarely do mainstream say I disagree, because I disagree requires more thought than saying I agree, and that's too much thought for the average mainstream to handle. Not only are mainstreams doing these very simple avoidance techniques to get out of thinking in general, they like making fun of things, and they like making fun of things that really shouldn't be made fun of. things. So one time in class, in the morning, the teacher brought up this video of a Swedish girl talking at a UN conference about global warming and climate change and stuff. And I have to be honest, it was a very passionate, pretty moving speech, and it was pretty good. However, these guys, these dumb mainstreams over here, can't stop laughing at the fact that she has autism, but not autism. The other word for autism. I'm gonna post it up on the screen. I'm not trying to pronounce it exactly, but I know it's definitely not burgers. So while we're all sitting there looking at this very inspiring motivational speech, these guys are spending the next 30 minutes laughing about the fact that this illness or disorder seems like a funny thing to laugh at. Which is not, which I don't know why anyone would laugh at someone having autism. It's not funny. Now, speaking on a totally other different topic, we have our teacher. She's very nice. She is a good teacher, but she is very tech friendly. She's very technology friendly. In fact, I think she's a little too technologically friendly. Because what I tried to mention this in another video, but I kind of got distracted with myself and kind of rambled on a different topic. What I was going to say in the last video was that not only do mainstreams play mainstream games, they play mainstream games in class. They play games in class and the teacher doesn't seem to notice. Our teacher can obviously see that like a good portion of the class is sitting at their desks with their phones either out in front of them or down under them, looking down, smiling, laughing, giggling at whatever they're doing, maybe even making comments out loud while the teacher is literally talking right in front of the class. But she doesn't care. She doesn't notice any of this, and she doesn't take any action against this. So people are literally blatantly, obviously looking at their phones, fooling off, and there's nothing being done. Now, of course, I do want to argue and say, well, it kind of makes sense that there's nothing being done. I mean, of course, this can obviously backfire. Well, of course, if you fool around in class, chances are, statistically, you're not going to get very good grades. So the teacher really doesn't have to do anything, and they can let them fool off. And then when they fool off, they get bad grades. They learn. Of course, then there's some people who don't care about grades, and that's a whole different story. But anyway, I'm just saying there needs to be some attention brought to this issue. That people are using cell phones and things, not even cell phones, computers, less likely computers, but most likely cell phones, in the middle of class while the teacher is talking. The teacher can be talking in the front of the class. The person closest to the teacher can play on their phone, and no one will care. Well, at least I say no one will care. No one will take action against this. And I want to say something. I kind of want to say, get off your damn phone. Get off your phone and listen to what they're saying. But on the other hand, I am right. I am like the teacher, and I do not care what happens to them. If they want to fail, then they can fail. I, however, on the other hand, is listening to the teacher and understanding what she says instead of looking at my phone all the darn day. Now, this isn't really a big problem, except it kind of is when it starts affecting me. You see, usually I have no problem with this, but unless everyone in the table group is like looking at Reddit, sharing each other's stupid Instagram stories, and playing Mario Kart, it's kind of a really big distraction. Also, you guys probably also noticed this is a voiceover because I'm just too lazy to record a separate audio file. Anyways, continue. So anyways, at school today we had this is a safety week for us. So the first thing that happened was a fire drill. So if you don't know what a fire drill is... I'm going to stop you right there because we don't need to hear this. So this happened at math class. So I was at math, basically. We went into math, the fire alarm basically went off after like a few minutes. And then it is loud. In my elementary school, the fire alarm is like a canoe, like siren, like beep, 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 coming in like sequences and stuff. That's how you tell it's a fire alarm. But in UHS... the alarm is one continuous, very loud, very high-pitched squeal, and it's, oh my god, it's very, very heavy on your ears. It's very loud, it's very high-pitched, and it's very constant. I have to close my ears when I walk around the actual alarm because it's just so dang loud. This is me apologizing in the future. I'm sorry for hurting all your ears. So once we got on the field to the nearest exit, we took the nearest exit. So once we got on the field, basically, so everyone's stationed on the field. This is a huge school, a lot of people, everyone's on the field. And we had to find our class. So we didn't follow the teacher per se, or I followed the group. So the teacher kind of was the last one to leave. So we kind of all had to funnel up. We kind of all had to head out the doors. And basically, when I went out the door, I kind of got lost. I was originally following my crowd, my class, and then I don't know how, but I kind of just wandered off. Maybe I accidentally wandered off and stranded. I mean, got stranded. I kind of walked around the field looking at classes, trying to find them. And when I finally did find them, my class, the bell rang and we were ready to go inside. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing that I got lost during a fire drill, but I just need to make sure that doesn't happen again. So AU art, AU visual art, my bad. So what happened this week? We got paper. We got really big paper. We got really big sheets of paper. Really big. You can't see my hands because that's how big it is. Really big sheets of yellow colored, tan colored paper. So is this kind of interesting? Well, for me, yeah, because it's free paper. We also got with the AU Arts program, you also got a lot of other free things. You get a free eraser, you get a free soft eraser or a kneaded eraser, and you get a free Tostido. No, it's Tortolio or paper. I call it the paper pen or whatever. You get free stuff when you join AU Art Visual, and I guess I don't know why I need to mention that, but it's kind of cool because really big papers. So along with a really big paper, we got to use Conte in class. Conte is basically like hardened. It's like chalk, but it's more hardened and kind of like more clay-like texture. It's like hardened chalk and little rectangular sticks that you need to break in. We were using Conte. What were we using Conte for? Conte for drawing people. So what happened this week was that more than once did we have a couple models come into our class and we had to draw them with Conte. And since Conte is very chalky and not as fine as pencils or lead or graphite, we were drawing what's the official term? We're drawing figures or figure drawing or dang it, what's the term? Contour drawing or figure. No, I can't. I'm not sure the actual term. I think it's figure drawing. Basically, you're doing a rough general proportion of the person rather than getting the fine details. And that was pretty fun. Pretty fun at first. I got slightly better at drawing people because I suck at drawing people, especially when it comes to figure drawing. But overall, I'm not good at figure drawing. I don't like it, but it was kind of interesting, kind of fun, and I guess it was experiences nonetheless. We're gonna probably cut this video right now. I'll see you in the next episode. Adios. Bye. Haven't even finished half the list.